Just keep winning.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, March 1st, 2025. Welcome into this live postcast reaction show edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making this your first listener watch right after this game goes final to recap everything that happened. We'll catch up with where Carolina's at in the bubble and all of that, and that will be great. Special shout out to all the insiders joining us, all the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, and of course, the everydayers here with us. Carolina wins 92-73 over Miami. My prediction was 102-75 for this game, so actually not that far off. Carolina moves to 19-11 overall, 12-6 in the ACC. They stick at 41st at Kent Palm. I think that's where they were coming into the game, if I remember correctly. And basically just keeping bubble hopes alive right now. That's all you can do in these games against teams that don't really matter, is just win and just very simply not lose. And now it comes down to just winning. Now, I say just, but winning at Virginia Tech on Tuesday before a date with the Blue Devils at home on senior night a week from today. Who baby, Carolina was first four out coming in. And so we'll see. We'll do a bubble check here at the end of the show before we get out of here. But no therapy session. It's been a minute since we had a therapy session. You guys were out here having a party today. All right, let's get right into this. Here's how this will work. We're going to talk big picture. We'll talk nitty gritty. We'll have a couple breaks. We'll get to your comments over there in the comments section where I see stuff populating already. If you got questions or observations, drop them in. I'll get to those in the third segment. If I miss some that are coming in, I'll get to those on Monday's show. All right, here we go. First off, before anything about the game, I don't know if you noticed, but did you see who was in attendance? I believe sitting right courtside. Jim Tanner, our brand new general manager. Somebody asked me on YouTube yesterday when his actual start date is, and I don't know the answer to that. I've not been able to find it out yet, but clearly he's on site, ready to go. And man, that is a good sign for the Tar Heels as we get ready for the transfer portal to open up in just a couple weeks. So good news there. A couple things about the broadcast before we actually get into it. Number one, I was quite annoyed. I wonder if you were too. There were two different occasions in the first 6 minutes of the game when ESPN didn't get back. Like the camera was on the announcers. The producer hadn't switched to the game action. We literally missed a Carolina possession where Drake Powell scored. And then there was some other action that we missed. And then later in the game, they missed the first of two of Seth Trimble's free throws. I'm not here. Like, I'm so grateful for the announcers and what they do, right? Like, it's very similar to what I do, but I'm not here to see them. I want to hear what they have to say. Sure. Show me the game, for crying out loud. So just to the producer, please get us to the action, get us off the announcers. All right. Here's another thing that I thought was crazy. And this is not about the production itself, but something we heard very loud, both in the Smith Center and on the TV, was somebody was yelling on all of Carolina's free throws. I don't care who that is, but somebody got to punch that dude or dudette, right? Just make them double over in pain. I'm not one for violence or anger. Apparently what was that called? The refs made, we were investigating for a violent act. Come on, he pulled him down, whatever. Anyway, another thing about this game I liked was it was shorter. I mean, this game started at noon Eastern and we were done like in an hour and 50 minutes. That's what I'm talking about there. Really good job getting in and out with the reviews on this thing. Okay. This now, gang, is 5 straight wins for the Tar Heels, the longest winning streak of the season. And I know I hear it. You're screaming at me as I say it, but Isaac, it's against all these bad teams. Well, let me remind you that North Carolina against Boston College at home earlier this season had to go to overtime to win that game. So forgive me if I'm going to celebrate Carolina beating up on teams that they should beat up on, because that is a sign of big growth. Like the fact that Carolina wins this game by 19, and I've already seen a bunch of comments both in our Discord and on Twitter and other places that are like, not good enough. Well, yeah, absolutely. There is stuff that Carolina needs to grow in from this game, and we'll talk about that both on today's show and on Mondays. But we should be celebrating. Carolina, 4 straight games now, has beaten an overmatched opponent by double digits, by 19 in this one. That simply was not happening earlier this season. So that is a clear sign of growth, and that's a good thing. When you can win by 19 against a conference opponent and still have a lot to work on, I count that as a win. And yes, we will critique, as I said, but there it is. And it was another dominant win. It was not wire to wire from a technical standpoint because Miami hit the first bucket of the game, a 3, and then Carolina scored the next 2 and then never trailed again. And let's remember, before the Florida State game where Carolina trailed a little bit, it was 3 straight games of wire to wire. So basically 4 out of the last 5 games in this winning streak have been wire to wire victories. That's great. That's really, really good. Carolina, again, showing signs of growth. Obviously now they cannot let up as they go to Blacksburg on Tuesday. Here's where I want to start with players. How about Ven-Allen Lubin scoring a Carolina career high 19 points for him on a wildly efficient 9 of 10 from the field. And in the second half, he was 7 of 7 from the field. You guys, I don't know if you've gone to look at the box score on that yet. He had 10 of Carolina's first 12 in that second half. I need to go back and look. I can't remember in real time, but there was another game recently where I think Ven-Allen didn't score in the first half. He was like the only Tar Heel that played that didn't score and then went off in the second half. And it was basically that again. Now, pushing further into the offense, it was not just Ven-Allen, man. One of the things I've loved that Carolina has been able to find lately with the change in the lineup, this was the 4th straight game with that Elliott Cadeau, RJ Davis, Drake Powell, Jalen Withers, Ven-Allen Lubin lineup. One of the things they've found with that is diversity of scoring. The offense is spread around and everybody's doing it. To that point, it was not just Ven-Allen Lubin. 6 different Tar Heels scored double figures in this game, and Elliott Cadeau was just 1 point shy of joining them. He had 9. Those 6 Tar Heels were Ven-Allen leading the way with 19. Drake Powell, the second leading scorer, also very efficient, 16 points on 5 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, and a perfect 4 of 4 from the free throw line. And might I say, Drake Powell, your free throw, sir, might bring rain, but boy, that feathery sound as it goes through the net is absolutely glorious. And then you had RJ with 13 points, not a very efficient shooting day for him, 4 of 12. And then following that, Jalen Withers with 11, Ian Jackson with 11, and Seth Trimble with 10. Really, really good to see that offense being spread around, because good luck to the opposition in coming up with a scout for these Tar Heels now who are going to beat you in a ton of different ways. And in fact, as we look about the offense's efficiency, this is the 5th straight game that Carolina has been over 1.3 in points per possession. And again, as I always say, I know it's hard to know context of that. 1 point per possession or above is what you're aiming for, or below 1 is like, we weren't very efficient today. And so every 10th of a point above that 1.0 is a massive leap. So for Carolina, in this game, was 1.394, so just shy of 1.4 points per possession. Unbelievably efficient offense. Last game at FSU was the season high in that regard, by the way, at 1.5. So now this 5-game winning streak, all 5 of them, the offense has been crazy, crazy efficient. All 9 players that played in the first half scored a point. Here's what I love about it too. Not only was it diverse and broad, but it happened from the get-go of this game. The first 6 baskets were scored by 6 different Tar Heels. That's crazy. I mean, that includes somebody coming off the bench, right? A Lubin dunk, Cadeau layup, Withers 3, Davis 3, Powell layup, Jay Wash layup. And then the next 2 were by Powell and I think another Jay Wash bucket, but then an Ian Jackson layup and Seth Trimble free throws. So the first 10 scores by Carolina were by 8 different Tar Heels. I mean, y'all, that is phenomenally good by the offense, and I'm really encouraged by that. Now, you might look at this game, and because of how Miami shot, because how many threes they made, because of Matthew Cleveland being back for them and having a game. I mean, he's so good. I remember back in his Florida State days, phenomenal. Because of that, I think we might look at this and say North Carolina's defense kind of reverting in this game. It wasn't great, whatever, that kind of thing. Let me just contextualize it a little bit for us here. We talked about how good Carolina's offense was. They nearly held Miami, who has a good offense, by the way. Miami's issue is their defense, and Carolina exploited that yet again, which, by the way, I forgot to say, this is Carolina's 5th straight game scoring 80 or more points. Their average in those previous 4 games was 90.5 coming in, so this 92-point performance kind of pushes that up even further. But as for Miami, whose strong suit is their offense, Carolina nearly held them under 1 point per possession, 1.090. And I think we felt, and was even messaging with somebody about, it was Brandon Mayberry and I on Twitter were messaging. It was like, remember Florida State, who is not a good 3-point shooting team, went wacky on back on Monday night, right? That 50%, do I remember that from 3 correctly? And it felt like Miami, who is not a good 3-point shooting team, did the same. They come into this game shooting, let me pull back up Miami's numbers, although it might have actually already updated. They came into this game shooting, I think it was 31.5% from 3, which was outside the top 300. Well, again, they did hit a bunch of threes in this game. They hit 9 of them. And that's, you felt that and you're like, man, they hit so many. But you know why? Because they took 30 of them. So their 3-point field goal percentage for this game was 30%, lower than their season average. So it felt like they hit a lot, and they did, but they also took a bunch and didn't hit them. So I'm encouraged by that. For the game, they hit 42.6% of their field goals, meaning they were much better from 2, but they were taking a lot of contested 2s. Matthew Cleveland was really good in this game, finished with 25 points, needed 21 shots to get there. So I think that's, you made him take a bunch of shots. And just knowing when he came back, he was going to be a tough guard. I thought Drake Powell had some really good defensive possessions on him, and that was good. So while it felt like Miami's offense was really, really, really strong, at least their 3-point shooting, as we were saying, it wasn't all that efficient, and I'm encouraged by that. However, on the other hand, Carolina, who's been shooting phenomenally from 3 in their last 4 games coming into this one, they were 40 of 90, which is 44.4%. Into this game, they bring it up again. Carolina made 1 more 3 than Miami. They made 10, but needed 12 fewer attempts to get there. Yes, Carolina was 10 of 18. Let me remind you, Miami 9 of 30. That's what we're talking about here. Carolina was +3 in terms of points coming from 3-pointers while taking 12 fewer of them. 55.6% for the Tar Heels from beyond the arc in this game, meaning that in the last 5, Carolina is 50 of 108 from 3. That's 46.3%, you guys. That is absolutely crazy. And the 3-point shooting, similar to the offense in totality, is coming from a multiplicity of players. 5 different Tar Heels hit at least 1 3 in this game, and 4 different Tar Heels, Jalen Withers, RJ Davis, Drake Powell, and Seth Trimble, had multiple made 3s. I think that is great, and I want to see Carolina continue on in that vein. All right, guys, lots more to talk about in this thing. We talked about defending without fouling. Carolina did that really, really well. I want to talk about Carolina shooting in the second half. We'll do a bubble check and more, all coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at Fabric. Y'all, life moves fast, especially when you have a family. I can hear my kids talking right outside the door there. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, man, they are off to college. I can't believe that day is coming, but it will one day. And that's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it easy and simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance right online, right from your couch, and you can be covered in under 10 minutes. And in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I got to be honest, I want to make sure that my family is financially protected no matter what's going to happen in life. And Fabric gives me and you that potential peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. So protecting your loved ones, y'all, it doesn't have to break the bank. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. The policies are issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states, and the prices are subject to underwriting and health questions. That's Fabric. Check it out. All right, we're bringing in the box score here for those of you who are watching live on YouTube. For those of you that are listening back later, what's up? We're so glad that you're here on the audio feed as well. All right, here's where we want to go next. is looking at one of the things coming into this game is Florida State doesn't, or excuse me, Miami. I got all these Florida ACC teams screwed up. Miami doesn't take a ton of free throws. They are one of the, they're just not great at it. But when they do get there, man, they make a ton of them. And so one of the things I had said about this game for Carolina is that they needed to be able to defend without fouling so that they weren't sending Miami to the free throw line. Well, guess what? One of the ways that we can look at it to help understand this is Carolina, for the entirety of the game, committed just 7 fouls and only one in the first half. One first half foul. So you already know that Elliot Cadeau did not commit 2 first half fouls because the entire team only had one. And so moreover, as you would guess, there were not many free throw attempts by the Hurricanes. In fact, they only took 7 for the game. They shot a great percentage. They hit 6 of 7, but they only took 7. And several of those, if I'm remembering correctly, were like right at the end of the game when everything was fine. Yeah, they took 2 with 7 seconds left. They took 2, or they had a couple and ones late, I'm remembering. So, man, Carolina did what they needed to do there, defending without fouling. Really, really good stuff. Now, I want to look at a couple of areas where Carolina wasn't as strong in this game. They'd been doing well with reining in turnovers lately, but Carolina commits 12 different turnovers in this game. And where were the main committers of that? Well, Elliot Cadeau had 3. I remember one of them being out top, just a pass out top to Seth Trimble. And it was tough to tell because Seth was cutting the other way and Elliot passed it maybe to where he thought he was going. So there is that whole thing. But it's just like those turnovers seem to happen a lot. The other person that had a bunch, multiple turnovers, Ian Jackson had 3, and then Seth Trimble had 2. So that accounts right there for 8 of your 12, and then nobody else had multiple. As for Miami, they had 10 turnovers themselves, so that's encouraging. But when you look at points off turnovers, Carolina led 13-10. So that's nice. Even though the Tar Heels committed more turnovers, they actually made a better use of the ones that they got and did that. The next area I want to look where we had talked about the rebounding coming into this thing, how Carolina in the last 3 games had really stepped it up, been plus 19, plus 14, and plus 14. Well, here's the great news. Carolina led the rebounding 38-26, meaning for the 4th game in a row, Carolina's rebounding margin was plus double digits, plus 12, a little bit lower in this game, but still plus double digits. And you'll take that. Where they weren't as strong in this game as they had been recently is in allowing offensive rebounds. Remember the last 2 games, 7 offensive rebounds combined, 3 allowed to Virginia, 4 allowed on Monday to Florida State. Well, Miami had 11 in this game, meaning they almost had as many offensive rebounds as defensive rebounds, 11 offensive and then 15 defensive. And I thought and I haven't gone back and charted all 11 of those, fine, whatever. I thought a couple of them were just the balls bounced weird and Carolina couldn't grab it. But I thought there was a couple that were issues. And again, I haven't gone back to look at what actually happened, where Carolina just wasn't aggressive enough getting to the ball or had issues like holding on to it. And those are things you'd love to clean up, right? Like it's not just about the ball bouncing the right or wrong way. It's about having the hands to grab and take possession of that. And so when we look at second chance points, Miami actually led those 19-18. It's basically a push, but that's a stat Carolina had been dominating lately in a way that they could get, a really strong way to do little things well. That's what Carolina is still needing to find is how do we do these little things to make up for size or other things that we're doing. Carolina had 24 bench points in this game, so not quite as many as they've been scoring lately, but a good number there. But here's an area, I've been saying some things to critique. Let me go back to the good side of it. Points in the paint, Tar Heels 46 points in the paint to 28 for Miami. So 46 times 2 is what, 92? So literally, wow. Exactly half of Carolina's points came in the paint. And that's on a day where they hit 10 threes and were once again really efficient from beyond the arc. So I really think it's about the lineup change and what everyone's doing. The more formidable front court plus Drake at his natural small forward position is allowing Carolina to get better shots from outside and is allowing them to do more work inside with that. So that's really encouraging. The other thing I want to mention is what was interesting about this game is I liked Carolina's pace a lot better in the first half. I thought there was a better rhythm to the game. And in that half, Carolina shot 51.6% from the field, 58% from three. And I was like, yeah, that felt really good. But I didn't like the pacing as much in the second half. I thought things bogged down a little bit. 7 of the 12 turnovers were in the second half. But here's what's funny. In the first half, Carolina took 31 shots. In the second half, only took 25 shots, so several fewer. But while I didn't like the pacing, what's funny is my eyes kind of lied to me a little bit there because I looked down at the field goals. Carolina, you ready for this? Shot 68% in the second half. They hit 17 of their 25 shots. Obviously, a lot of that is due to Van Allen Lubin and the great job that he did just putting the ball in the basket, man, being really strong from in close. And then one other thing I want to mention is, RJ Davis had been shooting so well, a lot more efficient in recent, but then the last couple games, he hasn't been as efficient. For this game, 4 of 12 from the field, although he was great from 3 of 6 for exactly 50%, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. But here's what I love that RJ continues to do. While he was inefficient from the field, yet again, a great distributor. 4 assists, just 1 turnover, man. And I am so pleased with that. Like, it's just crazy what he's been doing down the stretch here. And so I'll have the totals on that later. So really good stuff there, mostly from the Tar Heels. A couple things to clean up. Sure, that's great and fine, but I'm encouraged, and I think you should be too, moving forward to Tuesday. So a couple more things I want to say. Like I said, we're going to do a quick bubble check, and then also I want to get to your comments and questions, and that's where we're going to all go, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at Prize Picks, which I got to get their ad overlay up for those of you watching. Yeah, we got to see those Prize Picks beautiful purple colors there. March basketball is here, baby. Today is March 1st, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, man, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections, and if you're right, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, it's easy, and it keeps every game exciting. They offer weekly promos like on Tuesday when Carolina's at Virginia Tech. They'll have Taco Tuesday where they discount player projections to give you even more value. There's a whole crazy slate of college basketball today, so you can go check it out now, everything that's going on there. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, I'm going to pull up our comment section. We'll start getting to those. I'm going to leave the box score up for those of you watching. But as we do so, a quick bubble check here. If you're not aware, South Carolina is absolutely destroying Arkansas right now. The Razorbacks had 14 points in the first half. Right now, with 5 to go, the score is South Carolina 66, Arkansas 35. So that's really good for the Tar Heels. Colin Murray Boyles, or Tar Heel, it is good for the Tar Heels. Colin Murray Boyles has scored a career high 32 points. He's checking out. So right now the score is Arkansas 35, Colin Murray Boyles 32. That's crazy. Oklahoma, another bubble team that is 4-11 in the SEC, is down 35-28 at Ole Miss right now. 4 minutes to go in the first half. So both of those results are good for Carolina. Got a double bubble game later today, Georgia and Texas. Those are the 2 teams, at least in Lenardi's projections, that right now are just above Carolina. The Tar Heels are second in first 4 out coming into the day, with Georgia right above and then Texas right above them. So one of those teams is going to lose. One of those teams is going to win. Frankly, Texas's resume, I think, is a little better right now. So we want to cheer for Texas in that game. But those are just two of the bubble games going on right now. And those results are good for Carolina. Okay. Let's get on in to the questions and comments, all sorts of great stuff here. A lot about the bubble. That's great. Mark Schrader says, I don't believe we should be on the bubble, not the way we're playing now. I agree with you, Mark, and others probably feel that sentiment. Carolina is playing so much better. But the problem is, while, yes, this version of the Tar Heels, by the way, I also just noticed Kansas is not on the bubble, but they're losing at home right now. What the Jayhawks? It's not just us, you guys. Jayhawks struggling as well. Anyway, I completely agree with Mark's sentiment. The way we're playing right now, we should not be on the bubble. The problem is it's about your entire resume and not just what have you done for me lately. So this version of the Tar Heels had this even not even the whole season, just 2/3 of the season, we wouldn't be in any kind of bubble conversation right now. But the problem is it's not just these games. So all Carolina can do is just keep playing, keep winning, and hope that these other teams keep losing around the Tar Heels, right? And that's the thing. Now, one way you could really take care of business, obviously you got to win at Virginia Tech. If you don't win that game, it's no good. But man, next Saturday, got a massive opportunity against the Dukies. So really good stuff there. Derek Tyson says, this is the Tar Heel team, kind of to Mark's point, that I have envisioned before the season started. Our bench and balanced scoring have been great. I really think so, man. It's so comforting to know that those 3 players that come off the bench, which right now the main 3 obviously are Ian, Seth, and Jay Wash, they're contributing every time they come in. Cade wasn't in for as much today. I don't even think he played in the second half, if I'm remembering correctly, but did score in the first half. His lone 3 that he took was good, but his attempt was way off. So there's that. Jonathan Fox, our guy JC, says, our defense recovery efforts were much better this game. Players coming over to help at right times and only a few missed assignments and now wide open threes because we were guarding from 10 feet away. What I love, I was right with Jonathan here on this point. It feels like Carolina's defensive connectedness has been much better. They are recovering to shooters more capably. They're learning their switches and doing things like that. And there, as he said, there's a couple missed assignments where guys are just getting free to the rim or things of that nature. But I'm loving the defensive movement. It is so much stronger, which, as I say movement, it also reminded me there was a possession Carolina had with some of the best ball movement I've seen all season. I'm reminded of the end of it where Drake received a pass. I forget who it was from. It didn't make sense for him to go right up. So we kicked it to the corner, another pass, and then it wound up with a wide open layup for somebody. I can't even remember who it was, but it was a beautiful play. And then that also reminds me of Elliot Cadeau's dunk. Y'all remember that? Splits the D, gets in, and I was like, holy smokes, Elliot rising up like that. It was really, really good stuff there. And so that was good. All right. Mark Schrader, I'm also just noticing as I'm scanning through, goodness, I usually listen to the podcast at 1.6 times, so it's funny to listen in real time. Mark, I probably sound like a tape that is messed, right? Like, I feel the same way. I'm a 1.5 times podcast listener, so I'm sure that feels funny to you to get going on that. With that. And so let's keep scrolling here. Question from Derek Tyson says, what is our record when Jay Witt gets plus 20 minutes the past 2 seasons? I feel like it's really good. Derek, that's a great question that I'm going to write down and go. Obviously, I don't have that on hand that I'd like to go look at to have for the Monday show. But it also reminds me of something that I would like to say about Jalen Withers. With the way things are going, I mean, that step back 3 he had to be Carolina's first 3 of the game, I think it was like the exact same spot he hit a 3 to start the scoring against Florida State, like that right wing across from the benches. I don't know why we're not getting Jalen Withers more shots when he's hot, right? Like, that's not something I would advocate for all the time. And it's not like I want the ball in his hand all the time, because that's not where Jalen Withers shines, dribbling or doing other things. But he only had 6 shot attempts in this game. He was wildly efficient. 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, had a double-double, 10 rebounds to lead Carolina. I hadn't caught this. Y'all ready for this? Jalen Withers, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. Good night. Who is this player? Where has he been? Y'all, Jay Witt. Anyway, again, I'm not saying I want 15 shots out of Jalen Withers, but I would, when he's shooting and playing the way he is, like maybe 10 would have been great in this game. Even if he was 7 of 10, I'd like to see it. So I'd like to just see maybe a little more intentionality to get Jay Witt at the ball for that. So Brandon McLean says, winning at home by 19 against this Miami team isn't beating up at all. Fair, but we cannot miss how good a player Matthew Cleveland is. Getting it like the last couple games he's been out, this is a different team when he's in the game, right? And they're playing with nothing to lose. And so completely fair statement, Brandon. Like I would have liked to have seen maybe like a 25-point victory. But you take Matthew Cleveland out of the lineup, not playing, Carolina probably wins this thing by 30. And so good push from Miami in the second half, sure. But it is a much better team. And like Brandon says a little bit later, Duke drudged them by 40, basically. Well, yeah, that was their last game without Matthew Cleveland. So it's like, I hear you, Brandon, but just we got to have all that context, man. That's important to say. All right. Maybe one or two more of these, and then we'll keep going. Get on with our Saturday and see if we can get some other bubble teams to lose here, which would be really, really nice. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. All right, I'm not getting I know there's more questions down there, but I don't want to waste y'all's time with me scrolling through. And so we'll just get out of here for today. You guys, so good to be together. Quick check. South Carolina's still up 22 on Arkansas, 2.5 to go. So we're looking good there. Ole Miss up 6 on Oklahoma with 2 to go in the first half. So looking good on those fronts, encouraged by that. You guys, get back after it on Monday's show. Make sure to join us for that. And then Tuesday at Blacksburg, Carolina goes up there to Virginia Tech. Not necessarily an easy place to go play or win, but Carolina has to have it to finish off. I can't, like, I remember back to the beginning of this 6-game stretch. I said Carolina simply cannot lose any of these games, and they haven't, man. You've got to credit Carolina in a big, big, big way for the way they've come along and just figured things out lately. But it means nothing if they don't finish it off at Virginia Tech on Tuesday night. So we'll watch for that. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great weekend. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube already, do it right now. We are so close to 10,000 YouTube subscribers, and you can be one of the next ones. Tell some buddies, tell some friends as we close down the stretch here. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, we'd love to have you there. It's a great place to get just next level stuff here as part of the Locked On Tar Heels family. If you're not part of our Discord, we'd love to have you there. Both of those links are in the show notes. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Ladies in action, closing the regular season tomorrow, by the way, hosting Virginia. Obviously, Alyssa Usby has been out. Renaya Kelly missed Thursday's game at Duke. So hopefully at least one of those two ladies will be back. I'm guessing Usby will still be out, and probably Renaya, honestly, as well. Hold them out for the postseason play. All right. Have a great day again. We'll talk again tomorrow, Monday. But until then, peace.